This episode of The Mimic's Veil is sponsored by Taste Invader Tea. Treat yourself to 15% off an order of daring and delicious tea at tasteinvader.co.uk using code TMV. And today we welcome our newest patron, Pietro. Come and learn about what it's like to drop a giant duchy as we talk about playing Drop Duchy. We also take a trip through some personal memories of Ecuador in 2002 through Despelote. And finally, you might want to hold our hand while we talk you through the stop-motion nightmare that is The Midnight Walk.
So, obviously this is one that has been on the radar for quite a wee while now, since it's been in maybe 2 or 3 state of plays, at least 2 state of plays. I think we've seen The Midnight Walk, and it's kind of almost been, I almost feel like the fate of PSVR 2 to a certain extent was hanging in the balance with this game. It felt like the one that people were looking out for, and thankfully it's very, very good. I think it's quite a short game. I probably expected it to be a little bit longer, but it's maybe 3 or 4 hours. Maybe 4, well, actually, say maybe 4 or 5 hours go through, and probably there's some collectibles and stuff, so for a completionist run you might even be a wee bit longer than that, but not much. And ultimately, at its core, it's a walking simulator with some puzzles filtered through it, and like each puzzle, I think the main premise and concept of this game is the dark and light through fire, and it tells different stories about what the fire means to the people, and the tales that it tells. And each of it basically has 6 levels, depends how you look at it, and each level is structured like a tale, and it's a tale and it's someone's story, and the theme of there will be something within this story about fire, and fire will be like the joining theme all the way through it. That is the thread that feeds through the game, and ultimately you are going down the Midnight Walk to reach your ultimate goal. The Midnight Walk is the walk that you are on, and there's a much more deep and meaningful, there is much more deep meaning to the game. Like it's supposed to make you think and make you contemplate your life. I think that's the purpose of it. Maybe a wee bit too much at this point in time for me, but that's where it was at. But it makes such a good job of the art style of it is sublime. And I know I joked that you were using that word last week and said we didn't use that much, but I'm now using it again. But it's like all that, and we've seen a lot of it in terms of the build up to the game, but the claymation and all these small characters, and like, you know, the woven in of all these weird and wonderful characters from the imagination of these guys, and within things like as it's built up, like things out made of old books and random old pairs of shoes in amongst it, and it's kind of got that mix of like fantasy and like, but you're seeing this is from someone's mind and they've just used whatever bits are available to them to create it, but it all works really, really well. And the music, which hopefully you'll appreciate from what you've just heard coming into this, like is stunning. Like it's such a really, really nice soundtrack, and it tells you the stories in a lot of different ways. Like you find, like you've got a narrator as you're going through that's telling you bits and pieces, and you find these things throughout, like little like voice recordings in the way through, but they're shell phones. That's like big like shells with these little bits in the end, and they're all like these shell phones that you used to find to tell you. And obviously you can play this in VR or out of VR. So I played the first half in VR and then the second half out of VR, just because I wanted to experience both. Just to see this much, much better than in VR. I think you're far more immersed in the world in VR. I feel like it's first person in both. And in VR you always have your hands in front of you and you know what you're doing with your hands. There are some janky controls in there that there's like a certain bit, like at one point you get basically a match cannon to fire things, and I could not get this to properly load in VR. It was just like, and it worked much better out of VR. But where I felt like in VR, like out of VR, when you were just controlling it, there was nothing in front of you, so you felt like you were just the camera. You didn't feel like you were the person. There was nothing there, like there was no hands there or anything. It was just like as if you were following something in front of you rather than being a character. It just felt a wee bit off, but I adapted to it, and I don't know if it'd have felt like that if I hadn't started it in VR.
I was going to say, yeah, if you did it the other way around,
The other way
maybe
around, it might have been different. Yeah. But I mean, I can't take anything away from this. I felt like as I was going through it, maybe some of it was getting a little samey, but I felt again like what you were saying about Expedition 33, like the world building and such, and the characters. They've done such a great job of making you care about this world in such a short game. Like it's, you can be so reflective in what you're seeing and what you're understanding. The world feels incredibly alive. Like it's all just a little bits of like it's all animated around you, and like these little weeds or whatever they are, they're all moving and there's like life flowing through it, and just the whole thing of it feels really, really alive. And for it being so dark and almost it is horror, like it is basically a light horror, and there are some jump scares and stuff in it. Quite a lot of stealth in it, which I didn't love, but it's relatively easy stealth. Like you would, as long as you're paying attention to what you're doing, you're not really going to fail at it. You'll be fine. Just kind of, it's more around like planning your routes to get from A to B and getting through something before something can catch you and things like that.
Right.
It's not necessarily difficult stealth, but there's maybe a wee bit more of that in it than I would have appreciated. But by the end, like some of the characters you meet in Potboy is the one that you see in all the trailers. He's a little pot with a flame coming out his head, and he's your companion. So
okay,
you need
so he's
him.
not you.
He's not you.
You're
No,
not
you are
playing
the
as him. Right,
you're the
right.
burnt one. Like so
Right.
but you're not playing as him. He's your companion, and I think that's why some people are a little bit confused about this. I think a lot of people think you're playing as him because they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, why am I seeing some things in third person and some things in first person?" Like you're not. You just think that's your character, and it isn't.
Right.
He's your companion, and you basically tell him to go and like some of the puzzles to open doors. Like you'll find some candles that'll get symbols on them, so he can then go and light all the candles and do different things like that. So he's your
So it's almost like
source of
controls.
fire,
So you're not controlling him. You're just telling him
where to go.
what,
Yeah.
like pointing him. It's almost like the opposite of Moss then, because like in Moss you can be the god, can't you, that sees everything
Yeah.
and move
And
platforms
move
and
them.
stuff, but you can directly control the little
Yeah,
character
no,
as well,
there's
so-
no direct control. It just basically
Right,
gives you
okay.
different options to send them to go and do things. But he's such a cool little character. Like you do genuinely get an affinity for him. And you can kind of feel like it's one of those games where you're working towards a decision at the end. Like I think it's
Right.
fairly it almost tells you that at points as well. Like that's not really spoiling anything. But yeah, I would highly, highly recommend this game to anyone flat or VR. I think if you have the option to play it in VR, I would play it in VR. But I think you would enjoy it just as much in flat, just for the world, for the characters, for the story to a certain extent, and for the music. That it just, yeah, really, really good. I think it's the game that PSVR 2 needed, but it's also just a great game in its own right. Even taking the VR away from it, I think it is very, very good.
It's a weird, looking at it through a PSVR 2 lens, does it feel like it's maybe come a little bit late for PSVR 2? Like if this came in its first year, would it have been like, oh, we've got this killer app kind of thing?
Not sure it would have quite
really
been the
had.
killer app, but it certainly been another one up there. Like it was going, oh yeah, here's something we can really push with this. And I think I can understand why you're seeing more of this hybrid approach, but probably from a gameplay perspective, if you're not playing it in VR, I think in VR it's probably just right. I think if you're playing this out of VR, it would probably feel really gameplay light because you're not interacting with as much stuff. You're just pressing buttons here and there, whereas in VR you're going and you're opening drawers and you're looking for things. And I think particularly one of the key things in this, not key things, but one of the things that I find really interesting in what they've done with this is one of the buttons when you're in VR closes your eyes, and it basically it closes your eyes and it uses your hearing to like find hidden things. what it's like kind of pointing to. But when it closes your eyes, it's like these red lights that are shining through. So it's not like black, but it's like
Right.
you get that effect on the screen and it still does it. And you've got the 3D audio, and if you get headphones on, you're going to get the same experience. But obviously, it just doesn't have the same impact as it does in VR.
of
So there's
course.
just there's
So
some
this
limitations.
Does
there.
it feel like this is supposed to be a VR game, but they have added the hybrid thing?
No,
like,
I mean,
down the
I don't. I think that would probably be a little bit unfair to it. I
Right.
think
Okay.
I think there is enough. I think they have gone for a hybrid approach. I just think it's held back the flat game by having to have it work in both.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, concessions have to be made
Yeah.
both ends, I guess. It's almost like got a... have you ever played any of the Little Nightmares games at all?
It very much reminded me of Little Nightmares to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
It really, because I've only played Little Nightmares 1, but it very much gave me that kind of atmospheric vibe. It was very much
Yeah.
that kind of vibe of it. Whereas I think Little Nightmares 1 was much more stealthy than this, because there's bits of this that aren't as much stealth. Like there's more stealth in this than I would like, but it's not all stealth. There's more puzzles in this than there probably was in Little Nightmares.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's very
cool.
much like the game that it reminded me of.
Yeah, it's got that sort of creepy, as you said, light horror. It's not like
Yeah.
outright scary, but it's just a bit, everything's a bit off and a bit, creepy.
And it's like, whereas in Little Nightmares you could go and like hide under beds and stuff, couldn't you? And this you hide in. There's basically closets within your walk, and you can go and hide in the closets, from the monsters, and then you can see like there's almost a little gap in the closet, and you can see through and watch where the monsters going, and then when they pass, you can then push out and go.
It's like Alien Isolation. Yeah, creepy. I don't know why, but there's something about this game that I almost expect it to be on a subscription service. And I can't put my finger on why, but it feels like a PS Plus game.
I know what you mean.
And I don't know if it's just
It's
I've just
maybe
been
because they've
spoiled
pushed it
because
so much as well.
yeah, maybe. And maybe because it's smaller, but like, we've spoken about so many Game Pass and PS Plus games over the last several weeks. It just feels like, how can a game of this sort of scope like hit when it's up against Expedition 33, South of Midnight, Blueprints? I don't know. It just
Everything.
it's an odd time to put a special game like this out. Sort of, I'm sure it's not like full price, but it's to pay for it in the face of stuff that is quote unquote free. I don't know. It's almost like, particularly when PSVR 2 could always do with a boost. It's like, have they missed a trick not putting it on PS Plus day one? I don't know. There's something there.
I mean, it's not full price, but it's still like 30 quid. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's 30 odd pounds, so which is quite expensive for a VR game on its own. So it's
Yeah.
it's sitting with very positive reviews on Steam. I think it's about 80 in OpenCritic it landed at. So it's
Yeah, I was hoping for higher.
but then
To be
it
honest,
feels
it's in my
like
fantasy team.
it feels some there have been some that have absolutely loved it, and others that I feel they just haven't quite gotten it. But it's probably got that kind of sense of humour and art style and artiness about it. It is quite an artistic game in terms of like the visions of the creators. Like it's very much their vision, and if you don't appreciate that vision, you're not probably going to appreciate the game. It's things like one of the stories is around how this town and all the people in Nobodiesville lost their heads because they had no bodies. They were the nobodies, but they were talking heads. Like it's that kind of humour through it as well. So that dark humour at the same time, and just quite empathetic in a way all the way through. Yeah, really, really good.
Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that out at some point. Yeah, I mean, as for me, I did exactly what I said I would do last week, and I just haven't got stuck into another big game, as I'm still reeling from Clair Obscur. So one of the games I played, we spoke about Little Nightmares there, and this one kind of reminds me of it, and that's Bionic Bay.
Oh, I've been wanting to check this one out. Quite interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, well, I think you'd like it, and I think it reminds me of... It's like Inside or Limbo or like Little Nightmares as well. It's got that sort of creepiness about it. Weird. You don't know where you are or what's happened, and you're just going through a series of... It's just, 2D platforming. I think the difference is you play as a very small character. It's really zoomed out, and you're interacting with the environment. It feels very kind of almost like everything's breakable. You're quite floppy. Like if you land from a big jump, and you'll sort of just flop over and then have to pick yourself up slowly. It's a little bit like that, but yeah, I've played the first few levels, and I wasn't compelled to carry on. I don't really know why, because it is cool, but it's not like...
Not super cool that I want to keep going with this.
No, I mean, we are spoiled with so many ultra cool games that it is a bit like, yeah, it's nearly there, and this power that you unlock quite early on is you can basically swap places with different things in the world. So like if you need to get the other side of a laser that would kill you, you could swap places with a box, throw the box through the laser, and then swap places with the box again, kind of thing. So you can take its place and stuff like that. And that obviously lends to the sort of puzzle platforming challenges and things. And it's really stylish. And yeah, I can't really put my finger on why I didn't carry on with it, unless it is just that hangover from just playing, an all-time great game that nothing else is ever really going to hit those heights. So
and it's always difficult when you get to that stage, because you're like, you're still thinking about Expedition 33 in the back of your mind, and you're probably still hearing the music from it, and you're like, this music in my head's not correlating with what I'm seeing on the screen, and I'm just not happy.
I'm sorry, Bionic Bay. I'm just on the rebound, and I still miss her. Like, it's like that kind of thing. But yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, which sounds like a horrible thing to say, but it's like a perfectly functional and stylistically cool game that I think in another situation would really hit with me. I do think it's probably more Lewis's bag, because it's a very, he likes those games that don't sort of tell you much about what's going on, and you have to kind of work it all out for yourself. And
he's got the patience for them.
Yeah, and he likes that sort of creepiness and that weirdness. So I would probably say, yeah, if you like that sort of thing, then Bionic Bay. Again, I don't really like the name either, to be honest with you. I feel like that does it a bit of a disservice.
Sounds like something's going to have something to do with, like, pirates with metal legs or something.
Yeah, which would be a cool game. Yeah. But no, nothing like that. And I will say, the font on the title screen, very Control-like. And that was a good thing, because that was the best bit about Control, was the font. And,
we've seen Lewis is not here to go mad.
So it is, so yeah, extra points for that. But yeah, that's been just one off the top of my head that I've played. But we've also, you've played a lot of bits and bobs, and we've played a few.
We've played a few of the same ones, Ben. But
yeah,
I mean, I think there's one that I need to start with, because this one was not a game I thought I was going to enjoy, and this is a fucking crack. And that is Drop Duchy. So Drop Duchy is essentially a strategy roguelite with Tetris elements. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Yeah, that's about right.
So you have a board. You basically, each level you have this. You've got 3 acts, And you 3 acts, and you have what it's almost Slay the Spire-esque in terms of the map that you have to get from one end to the other. You have to
Yep.
complete each level to get through and do the boss fights at the end of the 3 act. But to do this, you're basically filling in a grid of Tetris-shaped like pieces together, and you get different pieces that can do different things, and you're trying to build a battlefield essentially between different terrains, different military objectives, different military buildings. You have pieces that can change the terrain from like fields into crops or from trees into harvesting wood. If you complete lines as you're dropping in the pieces, you then basically get rewards and payouts from that of the different types of terrain. So you'll get like a number of wooden items, a number of stone items, a number of crops. And you use all of that to progress, and you unlock then different cards that you can use to reduce the price of upgrades, because you can upgrade each of your cards, each of your buildings. And it's just so addictive. And it basically, once you finish your level and you get to a stage where either you've finished all your pieces, so you have a set number of pieces that you can drop in each level, so you can either finish off the board and you'll get all the pieces in, or you will basically, like in Tetris, you can't get all the pieces in, you stick off the top of the board and that's your board complete. And you will have your enemy buildings, you'll have the opponent's military buildings, sorry. And
Which
then
you have to place as well, don't you?
which you
So
place
like-
as well, yeah. And you then have to strategically say, well, you need to join up all of the buildings, the order that you want to attack. Basically, and you have like different types of military attacks. You can have a strong attack, you can have a light attack, an arrow attack. And you then need to strategically plan your route through your enemies to win the battle. And that sounds
that bit there. So at the end, once you've placed all your pieces on the board, and then you're choosing in what order to.
Yeah.
So you're sort of dragging all your different units from one to the other. I didn't quite get that. Like I never lost, but I didn't quite. Well, surely I can just drag, and then send them off to the enemy.
But it was a bit like rock, paper, scissors, to be fair, because it was like, well, the arrows are better against the strong attack, and so you're trying to work out.
Okay.
So basically, I think the first one you select is the one that you'll always have, because it basically takes the first one and then it combines them. It will still be the arrow. So if you have like one like with archery and then you have two strong attacks, if you click the archers first and then go into the other one, it'll always be an archer. And then if you're then up against all your opponents are weak to archery, then you'll use less to take them out. So like,
yeah, I completely missed that bit somehow. But
there's a bit of kind of, that's where your kind of strategic bit comes into it, around like, because if you're stronger than like the enemy's type, then you won't. If you're the same, you'll use like that number of units to take them out. If you're weaker, you'll use more units to take them out. If you're stronger, you'll use less units to take them out. And and then as you unlock more cards and stuff as you go through and unlock through the skill tree or like the different, you'll get more cards that are specific to the different classes of military as well.
Right. Okay. Because
it gets deeper and deeper as you go through.
Yeah, every other element of it, I think it tells you quite nicely, and it talks you through that. Yeah, the tutorial is really good. As you said, I think the actual gameplay it's just such a fun twist on a couple of different things. It's a fun twist on Tetris, obviously, but also on just like strategy. Just, there's elements of it that remind me of Loop Hero a little bit as well. A game that I like to reference.
Yeah, I can see what you mean, because you're basically like planning out
you're
what you're doing, just letting it happen, aren't you? You're creating a loop.
It's really good, but really, really nicely polished as well. Like it is just it's a real clean, really well made game, and as you said, it's like super addictive. And I think the boss fights are clever as well because they deviate from just your standard Tetris board, don't they? And they introduce a load of different little twists on it, which I think are really unique.
And each one is different as well. Like I was quite glad that it was a different type of thing that you had to do for each one too.
Yeah, so that's great. It gives you, because it keeps you guessing. Because I think it could get a bit samey potentially. But then you're constantly unlocking different units and different terrains and
buildings,
upgrading your cards and things like that.
And it almost gets a little bit Balatro-esque, whereas you get these, like, there's so many different types of cards that you can get, so then you'd almost get, like, these, I don't know if they're production cards or it's so many different names, but it's basically like a kind of Balatro Joker, whereas, like, this will take X% off the price of this card, or this one will boost it'll triple the rewards from each line, or this one will do this, or this one will do that, and then you can get 4 or 5 or 6 of them as you're going through, and they all just multiply up, and that's how you basically progress your more difficult runs, and then you unlock the different. You start off as the Duchy. That's your, what do they call it? Like your,
not your realm, your, I
like
can't remember what it's called, but
band or your that kind of battalion. Basically, and then you can unlock like different battalions, and then like one of them. So the next one you unlock basically creates towns. So it gives you a building that creates towns around it, and it just completely changes the dynamics. It's all about the town buildings that generate, and that creates like people, and it gives you a completely different currency to upgrade that stuff, and it just twists it a little bit again. There's a lot to it and a lot to enjoy, but it's a very, very good game.
Agreed.
Really enjoyed
it. Great game. Shite name again, if I may be so bold.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think you'd never know what this game is from the name, but
no, I don't think it's done itself any favors in naming itself that. But other than that, I think it's excellent. So another little one that we've both played, which I think we're probably both quite high on as well, is Despelote.
Oh, yes.
Which is...
You try and explain this one, because I don't know where you would start. Like, it's weird.
I would say it is a first-person slice-of-life narrative.
Yeah, that seems to be the take for this, because it is basically what... It's the experience of one of the developers during the qualification of the World Cup 2002 for Ecuador, essentially, and it's almost it's almost telling his life story of this 7-8 month period of Ecuador trying to win enough points to get to their first World Cup. Which sounds a really random concept for a game, and it is, and it's a really random game, but it's randomly beautiful. Like, there's just something about it.
Yeah, it's like an art house movie more than a game, almost, isn't it? It's like, because it's not really about the football.
No,
but that's like the framing device that's used just to tell this. You know, it's not even that much of a story, is it? It's just you're experiencing what it's like to be an 8-year-old kid when all this stuff is going on in your country and you've never been to the World Cup before. And, you know, I think it was like what was it when it's doing the initial setup? They're talking about a speed walker from Ecuador. There's just one Ecuador's first ever Olympic gold.
Yeah,
and then everyone in Ecuador wants to be a speed walker now. And it just, I don't know. There's just something about it. Just captures that feeling of being a kid. And all this world going on around you, even to the fact that where your mum and dad are talking, and they're not talking about anything relevant to you, that you can ignore them. In fact, there's a little, like, getting back to last week's Guess the Outro here, but there's a little top-down soccer game that you can play in the game. But then you'll be playing it and you'll be trying to score. Let's say, you know, you're Ecuador playing against Uruguay or whatever in this little game. And then your mum will come and stand in front of the TV trying to talk
And you're
to
still
you.
trying to play it behind
And
it.
you're ignoring her because you can't really read because it's all in Spanish. And yeah, you can't read what she's saying. And because you're trying to play this game. So that you are in the position and we've all been there where, yeah, whatever, mum. Yeah, just trying to score, you know. It's so it does a really good job of sort of capturing those feelings. And when you're playing hide and seek with your little sister and stuff, and you can't help but like be a bit worried about where is she?
going?
We've got to be in by 6:30. Like, I don't know. It's very cleverly done, and there's just a lot of heart in what is a real simple.
Yeah.
You know, gameplay wise, it's really simple.
And I think in how it's also presented, because I think how it's been done is essentially took scans of the city and this little town that it was built in at that point in time, and then overlaid with this kind of grainy aesthetic. But it is actually like the buildings behind it, and it's just and there's a bit of the game that starts to explain all this stuff that they've done to make the game, and it's just very. But I think for me, what I took from this is it's ultimately what the message I was getting is like it was going on around how this was a really struggling nation and they were struggling from hyperinflation at the time, and they'd just taken on the dollar to try and as a last gasp effort to deal with the hyperinflation, and almost like how much sport can pull a country through despair, and like taking some sort of level of sport and success when everything else around you is crumbling to a certain extent. And how people then just buy into that and that becomes their lives. And I thought it was just quite powerful in terms of story it was telling for it being such simple story. But yeah, very cool.
Did it strike a chord being from Scotland? And this is going to sound like I'm taking the piss because you've just been talking about a crumbling country getting into the World Cup, you know. I don't mean it like that, but like, is that the vibe? Because England gets in regularly, so I don't know what it's like to be in a smaller country. You know,
there probably is an element of that because I think Scotland are very passionate about their teams, and I think they do take a great deal of pride and a great deal of heart into everything that they do, and they get as involved and probably as this was to trying to get the World Cup, particularly when it'd been so long. Because I think when we got to the last European Championships or whatever it was, like that was the first since 96 or 98.
Yeah.
So like you do kind of
98 was the last World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it probably does, and I know you're only half taking the piss a wee bit, but like,
a quarter.
Yeah,
not even.
But it's. But I do know what you mean. It probably does resonate with me a wee bit more. But it's just for a game like this, I think even the presentation of it and all like the white assets to put over the top of this bag essentially is just very, very intentional, but very effective.
Yeah, it's really expertly done, and I gave myself a little pat on the back as the credits were rolling. Because while I was playing it, I was like, that graininess that you're talking about, that sort of constant moving grainy image, reminded me of Ape Out, the game from a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And then as the credits rolled, I saw Gabe Cazillo was involved in the creation of this game, and he made Ape Out, basically.
Right, okay.
I know some stuff. Yeah. So I had a little moment there. But yeah, you can... It's just quality, and I think it's such a unique story, and the way that it's like fictionalized, it's semi-autobiographical, isn't it? A little bit, but it's like it's just unique. You just don't get to see games like this very often, and I think I think it should be for a couple of hours playthrough. It's like
even that it's maybe about 90 minutes or something to play through it. But it's and I think if you wanted, it's quite an easy platinum as well. Like it's not from it. It's just all about the number of goals you scored in like the little game. So I think the hardest bit is like getting to the little game because it doesn't give you an option to play it again when you finish it. It's just you can only play it at the bits in the story that you can play it. But I think the one other thing I want to call out, and I don't know how much you put this in, Ben, but I'd imagine you did. But see that very first like zoom out from when you're playing that game to actually the world creating around it, like that was so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Like that very first bit as you're playing this, and it just zooms out, and then the family starts talking round about you, and you're getting further and further, and you realise it's a TV, and it just keeps going and going. It sounds like something really simple, but it just the way it's done, it's so good.
Yeah, it just works as a standalone bit of art from start to finish. It is just, as we said, like an art house movie, and just put an hour and a half, 2 hours aside, and just enjoy it. It's not hard or anything. It's just a narrative with a bit of walking about, but it is, it's a special one. I think that'll. I mean, it already has won some awards, I think, but I think it will win a few more this year. Despelote. What does Despelote mean? That is the question. Looking on Google, still none the wiser. Hot mess is so apparently it's Spanish for hot mess or fracas. Also, another definition: stripping off. Okay, or chaos resulting from testicle removal. So,
I mean, I'm not quite sure which one of these are good for.
no, but apparently that's a word of many meanings. Despelote. Yes. There's our word of the day. Yes, whatever the fuck it means.
Yeah, but I suppose another game that's almost a word of the day, and that we both played again, is Preserve.
Yes.
And this game is almost the definition of. I think if you had to define Preserve from a gaming perspective, it would be what? Chill. It's very chill.
Very chill.
And the reason this one appealed was it's very. I think particularly from a presentational perspective, it's very Dorf romantic, which is very much a favourite in my household and many households across the Mimicsville and across the Mimicsville patrons and friends. It's a big favourite over here. So just seeing some little hexagons on a puzzle type page, I thought, let's give this one a go. So again, I think it should just have released maybe a few days before this podcast comes out. And it's essentially, it's not quite like Dorf Romantic, but in terms of how the puzzles work, but it is still about basically joining together different hexagons to create little preservation areas, essentially, so that you can rehome different species and animals. So you're trying to create these little habitats for these animals to place to get the maximum score from these puzzles. You start with what maybe a circle of 12 hexagons or something, and the first thing you need to do is go along and water them so that they're fertile, and then you can put grass on them, or depending on the height and the altitude depends on what you can do with these, and then the type of what soil or whatever you've got down depends on what animals you can put on them, and then the more animals you can get together and the bigger the space, then you can have more of like the same species, and you can get bonuses if you get 3 of the same species. You can get bonuses if you get 3 different species that can all go in the same field, essentially. And it just takes you at your own pace. There's no time pressure. It's just about you working out your landscape. And as you get enough points, you can then expand your grid and choose where you want to put the next piece of the puzzle, and then just basically building out and expanding and expanding. They do have, I think each of the levels does have a finite size. It's not like Dorf Romantic and just keep building and building and building, and the end goes like once you can't build anymore. These are like you maybe get 6 or 8 of the big pieces to add together, and then once you've got them, like that's your canvas, and you just need to work with what you have.
So can you finish a level?
You've got scores up to each level you can get like up to 3 stars on, and based on the score that you've got, but you basically get to like a natural end of a level because you can't get any more. So You can go back to it and still filter and like kind of yeah, tweak it to a certain extent, so you're not never like finished. It's still there, but then each level is built almost around like not maybe a different continent, but it's like, well, hey, you probably could almost put it at continents because it's almost like the first level is all kind of very grassy and this type of animal, and the next one could
Yeah,
be
it
kind of
almost felt
sandy and deserty or like kind of
English or British, sorry.
and then the next
didn't it?
one maybe felt more African, and you had like giraffes and
Yeah,
stuff that you were putting
yeah.
in and more safari like, and it's all just very. It's that whole let's look after the world and be quite chilled and rehome these animals and just make everything better. It's that vibe
Yeah.
of game, but there's no tact. It's more just to make you think, and it's a nice little thinker. It's not one that you're going to get frustrated at. You might not get the highest score, and if you're wanting to get like the perfect score, you're really going to need to think about it. But if you're just wanting a nice time, you could just sit and play this for hours happily and not really get annoyed at it.
Yeah, you could put an episode of Wilder People on. Just listen to that whilst you're playing it. How fitting that would be. That's a podcast by our friend Smark. It's all about rewilding.
Rewilding and rehoming these animals should be.
Exactly. Perfect match. It's arguably too chilled for me, I think. I think it's one where I was a bit like, okay, can I put like a honey badger in there and just fuck some shit up?
No,
Like,
it doesn't even let you. It's either you can put
No.
these nice animals in or you can't. There's no
Yeah.
danger to come along. So I know what you mean,
No.
that you almost want that, oh, this bit's on fire, go and put the fire out type thing. There's none.
Yeah, I'm going to
None
put
of
a
that.
wolf next to a rabbit and just see what happens. No. Which, it's not about that. It is very chill. The music is very calming. The whole look of it is just, yeah, it's lovely if you're in the market for something like that.
And it's coming to all consoles as well. So it's like
Oh, that's cool.
It's been on early access on Steam, but this is the full release. So it's coming to PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and
Nice.
full release on Steam as well. So it's available to all.
Lovely. And very well made, I should say, as well.
Yes.
Like it's, yeah, like really clean and well done. Another quick one from me, which probably isn't quite as well made, if I'm being completely honest, but still good nonetheless, is Deck of Haunts.
I'm quite surprised that you're saying that, to be fair. Not saying that it's quite good, but I'm surprised that it not been well made. I don't know, it just felt like it was going to be.
I don't know, it feels a bit like it's a bit underbaked, I would say.
Right.
So what it is it's a deck builder, but you are playing as a haunted house, and you're trying to entice people into you so that you can kill them or drive them insane. And you're building up your deck to, you can either do damage to them or you can damage their sanity effectively. And then you can upgrade your house to, you might upgrade it so that a witch goes from room to room and, takes a certain amount off their sanity meter every time someone sees the witch and stuff. You're basically trying to kill or drive these people mad before they can get to your heart. And if they get to your heart, which is in the far room of the house takes damage.
Okay.
And you need to survive for a month, basically. So, or 29 nights, whatever it is. And that's really cool. That's really fun. I just feel like it's not... I didn't see enough from my first... I've done probably 2 weeks so far. And it was just a little bit too basic almost. Like, I love the idea of it, but it feels like it could have
just not quite.
Yeah, it feels like it could have leaned into the horror a little bit more. Like, show me some crazy shit. Let's have a bit more fun. Let's throw a werewolf in there, and maybe that happens later on. I don't know, but it just felt a bit like, great idea, but like it's just not as much substance as I would hope for, because there's so much room to be playful with that as a premise.
I don't know, Ben. I mean, you just sound like you just want to throw a bit of werewolf in any game at the minute, just cause a bit of violence. It might not be the
Throw
game's
a wolf
fault,
in there. If in doubt, throw a wolf in. Yeah, I don't know. It feels a bit. Yeah, it's good. It's really good, but I feel like the idea of it is better than the execution, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, whether it will get patched and added to, I have no idea. But as things stand, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't heartily recommend it as much of the other stuff that we've spoken about.
It's
which
mostly
then leads me
positive on reviews, to be fair, on Steam.
Yeah, it then leads me to one that I would heartily recommend. That again is very, very basic, but I love it nonetheless, and that is Fireball 2. How do you feel about Fireball 2, Alex?
I don't know. I don't think my retinas particularly like it very much. But oh my god, like it takes me back to in past days and past guises or Ding Dong XL days. It's very much that type of thing where this is you are going and you just get a simple game where you are this little fireball and you need to survive as long as you can and get rid of these little things that come on the screen to get the highest score that you can possibly get. And that's all it is. It's you one button to speed up a wee bit and the analog stick to move this thing, and you just need to survive. And it's absolutely the most addictive thing I've played in age.
Yes. It's like the most basic form of a survivor's like, almost, isn't it? Because it is just pure bullet hell. Literally all you're doing, there's no real upgrades or anything. You're just moving around, trying to hit these bombs that will then blow up the enemies. And then that's it, really. And yet, so addictive. My whole household is playing it. Like,
having competitions with each other.
Yeah.
But that's how you got the high scores. It wasn't you.
No. But yeah, and you can play 2-player as well. And
that must be quite. I don't have
it's
any.
quite hard.
I don't have any local friends that could play 2-player with and locally, but yeah.
Yeah, it's it complicates things, and obviously like playing with a child always complicates things. But it's you're more zoomed out to allow for 2 of you being on screen. So that when you're so tiny in the first place, that makes it even harder. But yeah, it's like pure arcade fun. Which Ding Dong XL is the obvious comparison. It's and I just so wish it had online leaderboards, because I think it would be even more addictive.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why it doesn't, because it's just basically one guy making these games. Like, it's fair enough.
And I actually have emailed him to ask if there's any. Like I said, I was like, look, I know you're just one guy, but is there any chance of this in future? Because that would really elevate it.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing posting a picture of your top score in our Discord.
It's different. It's another thing like
actually seeing, I've just overtaken Alex, amazing. But yeah, it's.
See what he says.
Yeah, he's ignored me so far, so he's obviously a very busy man. But yeah, that's Fireball 2. I think it's on all platforms. I'm not sure if it's on Switch actually, but it's I'm playing it on PS5. It's on Steam and Xbox as well, and it is £5.79 on Xbox, $5.79 on PlayStation. It'll be similar sort of price on Steam, and
go spend your £6. You'll not regret.
Yeah, honestly, do. And then go to Patreon. Patreon.com/The Mimics of Ale, join our Discord, and put us all in our place for that leaderboard on Fireball 2. Great to play a little game like that. The ultimate palate cleanser, just what I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get you in the mood for something big, Ben.
Are you in the mood for something big, Alex?
Always.
Okay. Well, before that, why don't we? And this is a bit of a curveball, Alex, and I do apologise. Second week in a row you're going solo. But we're going to play Guess the Outro.
Oh, for fuck's sake. So I need to ask a question.
It's back by popular demand. Yes. This time around, Alex, you're going to ask me questions.
And I get a clue. Did I get a clue at the beginning? I can't remember.
Yeah, you get a clue at the beginning, the middle, and the end to help
Right,
you
okay.
along. And you got 10 guesses to guess the game I am thinking of. Are we doing turbo because I didn't have time to come up with 10 clues? We'll never know. Maybe. But yeah, I just thought keep you on your toes. And fuck you up again while Lewis isn't here to protect you. So,
Look forward to it.
here's your first clue. It's a licensed game.
Ooh, a licensed game.
Yeah. Good clue.
GoldenEye.
Well, you can ask me questions now, can't you?
Oh, do I not need to guess at the beginning? Oh, can I? Right, okay.
No. So just, yeah.
Is it a platform exclusive?
Yes.
GoldenEye. Oh,
Yeah, right. It's been a while since
I'm only allowed one guess at a game,
it's been a while since we've done this. I'll let you off, Alex.
Yeah.
I'm not going to penalise you for that. So you've had one question so far, and that is platform exclusive.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Does it feature a
question
Marvel character?
No, not Marvel.
So not Spider-Man.
No.
Does it feature a
three?
spy?
It doesn't feature a spy.
Not GoldenEye.
Not GoldenEye. No spy.
Is that a
Question
sports
4?
game?
Not a sports game. Not sports. And then I'll give you a clue after this question. Number 5.
And it's a platform. That driving game. Oh no, that's sports. Character name and title.
Yes. There we go. Well done, Lewis. He's helping you even though he's not here.
Yes.
Character name in title. Good. Right, your clue. This was published by shell corporations outside of its native country. So not published by the same publisher who published it in its native country in a convoluted way. So outside of its native country, it was published by
someone
shell
else.
corporations. Yeah.
Is shell corporations like you mean as in shell companies, or shell corporations was the name of the publisher?
So this is meant to give you a clue as to when this came out. So because you're by yourself, I'll give you some more detail here, so it's not too obtuse. So back in a certain era, a certain platform holder only let third-party publishers publish X amount of games on their platform. So those publishers...
So this is like back in the Nintendo, like early days.
So those publishers had to change their names in order to publish. So there we go. I've said enough.
Yeah.
Question 6.
Is that a platformer?
It is a platformer. Let's say yes.
Could you describe, would the character be described almost like a mascot?
A mascot.
As well.
No, I would say no.
No. I suppose Cool Spot wasn't really a licensed, was he? I feel like he was something. I mean, you wouldn't get good music in that, would you?
well, if you heard last week's, that hasn't stopped us in the past.
That's true.
Question 8, you are on.
So character names in the title, basically an older
Yep.
game. It's licensed. Is it a superhero game?
No, not a superhero game.
What other kind of things are licensed? Thinking of that old McDonald's Arches game now. That's a kind of era I'm in. Oh, I'm rubbish at this on my own.
No, you're doing fine.
Was it a NES game?
Great question. Yes, it was a NES game. That was question 9.
But they're not superheroes, so it's not like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or anything like that. Is they superheroes?
Would you class them as superheroes?
Well, are they animals? Is the character an animal?
Is that question 10?
Yes.
They are animals, yes.
And I get a clue now anyway, don't I?
You do get a clue. Let me pull that up for you right now. Your clue is when it was released on Virtual Console, GameSpot gave it 2.7 out of 10.
What kind of clue is that?
A clue to how good the game is, I guess.
Is it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes!
Yay!
Well done. Well done. I wouldn't say they were superheroes, would you?
I don't know. I mean, they're certainly
No, it was
comic book characters and they are like heroes in a half shell, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't
They're
think
not,
of them as
they're not
superheroes.
superheroes,
Yeah, so it was,
grand
that was the
scheme of
toughest
things.
question you asked. But well done. A solo
the
victory. That was good.
Did it for Lewis.
Yeah. It's... Yeah, I think a 2.7 is very harsh. This is... I think he's... The guy reviewing it when it came on Virtual Console basically said it's too hard. Yeah. And it is really hard. That notorious underwater sequence. I was actually chatting to my mum about that game last week, and she brought up the underwater sequence. Like, she could remember me sat playing it and going, "Oh yeah, that was the bit with the water where you had to defuse the bombs." And yeah, you kept
Amazing
dying,
she
didn't you?
remembers that. So that really
Yeah, I
does
know.
show how bad it must have been.
How much I must have just always got to that bit and always died and just been like, oh, I'm going to get it this time. And I don't think I ever did. But yeah, I should go back to the Cowabunga collection and play through it. Because that's literally my first ever game that I owned. And the reason I wanted an NES in the first place was because it came boxed with this game. So it's an important one for me. And the soundtrack is very, very good as well. I've quite enjoyed going back and listening through that. Just yeah, it's a really good one. Like, so this was published by Konami in Japan, but then outside of Japan, it was all
Random
crazy.
companies.
Yeah, random little made up like Ultra and Palcom, I think was another one. But I think yeah, those were the days when Nintendo was like, nah, fuck you guys. It's just,
I mean, in fairness, they're still a little bit like that, aren't they?
yeah, they are. Yeah, I do what I want. Yeah, good old Nintendo. And yeah, I think the track that we're going to listen to is it's just the title theme when that game started. Now it actually deviates from the obvious like Turtles theme and just does something. There's like subtle nods to it, but it's completely original, and it's all the better for it, I think.
How dare they?
Yeah. But this is composed by Jun Funahashi, and it's title screen music from my first ever game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Despelote? 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 What am I saying here? I don't know how to pronounce this.